Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. So my name's Melody Hames, I'm also known as a horse barber. I'm making this video because I recently posted about some success that I've had with my Welsh Section D, who happens to have PSSM2 variants NP3 and NP4. So I'm making this video because a couple of you have responded to my post where I've talked about how well he's doing. You've asked the questions, do you have a link for the PSSM2 protocol you were using? That's from Jen. So I guess this is the closest thing I'm going to have to a link, because I'm going to talk about a little bit about the background and then what I've been doing differently, and of course our diagnosis as well. I really hope you find this video useful. Every PSSM case 1 and 2 and variant are also very different, so I know that something that works for one necessarily won't work for another, but I'm sharing our story just in case it helps anyone else out there. So there is so much to it, so I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. I will make different videos for any other questions that I have. If you ask a question, I'll just make a separate video because it's so diverse that really I'll be here forever. So I'm going to talk about my Welsh cob called Romeo. This is Romeo. This was back in 2016, I think. I actually got Romeo going up to Appleby in a deal in 2014, and I absolutely love him. Romeo has ended up not necessarily my riding horse, but very much my business partner horse, because my business is I shave horses and I do creative grooming, and this is what Romeo looks like when he's working with me. So as it happens, Romeo has very much found a use outside of riding, so I am quite lucky with that. But the fact that now we're getting this improvement after his diagnosis is just the icing on the cake for me, because I've been working on this horse for, this is the 8th year actually, and there's just been so many hurdles and problems and frustrations along the way. So to finally have this improvement is just like the icing on the cake. So I just wanted to share that with you. The reason why I actually tested for PSSM2 was back in November last year. I saw a post by Chelsea and she was talking about this condition, and I started reading it, and I could not believe the similarities that I was reading from the symptoms from PSSM2 horses, particularly 2. I read about PSSM1, and as soon as I started reading about 2, I just knew in my heart and soul that this was what the problem was with my horse. The symptoms was just too far too similar for me to overlook it, and I felt like I was finally getting answers. Some of the symptoms that really made me think were reading things such as the sensitivity to cold. Now Romeo, literally, he can be cold. It can drop from 17 degrees to 13 and he will shiver. He's just really sensitive to the cold. So I keep him really warm. Now he is actually a head shaker. I've had big problems with him head shaking all these years. I'm not saying that PSSM2 is definitely the reason, but since I have been treating him in line with PSSM2, I've just had massive improvement. I took him out on a 3-hour hike yesterday. The horse usually would be shaking his head in discomfort, and he didn't. And this is not just like a one-off. I've been seeing improvement since December last year, because although I didn't actually get my results through till January, there was a bit of a delay in the post. I'd already started treating him. As soon as I read about PSSM2, I started treating him as though he had it, because I knew wholeheartedly he was going to come back with it. I would have been very shocked if he hadn't have done, and I actually said that to a few people. Yeah, so that's another thing. So let's go back to my point. So in November, I found out about PSSM2. The first thing I did was I started supplementing him on vitamin E and selenium. I did my research, I looked at the different types. I'm no pro or expert by any way, shape or form, but I did have a look at the vitamin content, and then I decided to go with the Equimins vitamin E and selenium. So that was the very first thing that I put him on in the November. Then in the December/January, found out about NupaFeed Magnesium. Now, the reason why I actually went for the magnesium was for the head shaking. Somebody tagged me, one of my good friends and clients, she tagged me in this NupaFeed post. She knew I had a head shaker, and I thought, oh, let's give that a try. So I initially started giving Romeo the magnesium liquid for the head shaking, but I have to say that he's not only has the head shaking improved, his actual whole disposition and demeanor has, like, he's not as anxious, he's so much more settled, the spookiness has leveled out. Now, whether that is the vitamin E and selenium and the magnesium combined, or one or the other, I don't know, but the combination of both of those has just been fantastic. So I will say that I actually saw improvement from the vitamin E and selenium when I've been lunging him over poles just in walk. His movement has been much better, even after like 3-4 weeks of being on the vitamin E and selenium. I just saw masses of improvement. And not only that, the bit of a Brucey bonus was his feather came back in abundance, because his feather had been thinning and thinning and thinning the past few years. And I thought perhaps it was because as he was gelded, I think he was gelded as a 4-year-old, as he was gelded, I thought maybe just the hormones dropping over the years and he's losing the feather. No, I've put him on the vitamin and selenium and he's got this beautiful feather back. So that's a bit of a bonus for me. But ultimately, the improvement that I saw on that vitamin E and selenium was within 3 weeks. Now we're 7 months down the line and I'm able to see now that this is standing the test of time. He is moving much better. I have also had Romeo on the tri-amino acids by Progressive Earth. So that's the 3 amino acids. I will say that they were added much later than all the others, so I actually saw improvement before I had him on them. However, he is on those, and I will continue to keep all of it happening while it's working. Not sure whether it's a combination of all three, whether it's one or the other, but while it's working, I'm going to keep him on those. One thing that springs to mind is when we've been on yards in the past and I've been on haylage, I feel like that was a massive trigger. The richer the haylage, I feel like that sends him really neurotic and edgy and like jumping on the end of my hand when I'm leading him, like just jumping about. He feed has got massive things to do with it as far as I'm concerned. Also his environment, so if something's stressing him out, it's like that used to make him a lot worse. Where he is now, it's nice and calm, it's quiet, he's relaxed. The grazing that we are, it's borderline moorland because we're just on the edge of the moors, which I think is great for him. I think if it was grass that had been treated with fertilizers and really rich cattle fed sort of type grass, then I feel like that would make him worse. So definitely think that keeping him on leaner sort of pasture is better, because it does seem to fire him up, you know, the rich grass and definitely rich haylage. So now I have him on just the hay. That's one thing with Romeo. At the end of this video, you'll also find a photo of the latest findings from Romeo's chiropractor session with Catherine Palin. I have him done every 12 months, sometimes every 6. So it'll be an indicator for you to see where Romeo carries his tension throughout his body and the muscles that it affects. So largely his shoulders and his back, which affects his hock movement as well, and his hindquarters. Hopefully you'll find this useful. Hope this has been really helpful for you. For anybody that wants to know how I've actually had him tested, I've printed this out here. So I used a company called Generatio, who are Centre for Animals Genetics and Animal Trust Centre. So I think it's known as CAG. They're over in Germany. I think on YouTube there is a video actually of how to pull the hair for testing, for genetic testing. Go and get a video to show you exactly how I did it, so that you can get your results if you decide to test. So this is, I'm just going to show you the paper now. Romeo is what's known as NP3 and NP4. I'll just show you this here now. So there are many different variants, which is most unfortunate. However, like I said, I have seen great improvement, and there is hope out there for owners that have these horses. Would I have another? I wouldn't like to put myself in that situation. It's been 8 years of, it takes its toll. It takes its toll. It's questioning your own self, questioning your knowledge. It pushes you to like breaking point. you always know there's a subtle undertone of lameness, or you can't always pinpoint what the problem is, but you know it's there. Sometimes it makes you feel like you're going crazy. You question your own self. Am I causing this? Is it something I've done because of the edginess of them? And you're constantly feeling like a failure. But somewhere inside, I knew it wasn't me, because there's so many horses that I work with. And I've always been able to work through these sort of problems. But with him, it just wasn't the case. But we do have a bright future ahead, which is, honestly, it's amazing, because I didn't think I'd ever see the day. So what I'm saying is there is hope out there. So I hope that if you take anything from this video, it's just not to give up. That said, there does come a point where it's, you know, some horses unfortunately can't be helped any further. And that's out of our hands. That's a completely different decision. Some can be helped, some can't be helped, in my experience, from what I've seen. So all you can do is ever do your best and know that you've done your best. So yeah, good luck, guys. If you've got any questions, please ask, and I'll just make some more videos. That's probably the best way to do this, because there is so much history in the past 8 years that I could talk about. But I want to stick to the point in hand, which was to tell you about what I've been treating Romeo on, where I've seen these improvements in the past 7 months. So we've got the Equimins Selenium, Equimins, we've got the NupaFeed Liquid Magnesium, and the Tri-Amino Acids by Progressive Earth. I don't work with any of these companies. I'm not being paid by any of these companies. I'm just literally telling you my experience of how I've seen such a vast improvement in my horse just by those changes. Also, try and avoid triggering stressful situations for the horse, whether that's moving house can trigger it for them, a field change, all these little things can. So if you can just try and keep the horses in a nice relaxed environment, that will help. And also consider the hay and the haylage that you're using. Is it been highly treated with fertilizer, or is it the basic stuff? And yeah, I'm by no means any expert, but I just wanted to share this with you, and hopefully you can take something away from it. And yeah, just give me a follow. I will throw some more videos out there, and feel free to ask me any questions at any time. I think that pretty much covers it. I'll just go through a couple more comments that were on there. Anna asked me, it's so nice to hear the improvement that I've been having. How long did it take after you tested him? Like I said, I started the protocol before I got the results, because I knew that he was going to come back positive. But how long did it take after I started? About 3 weeks to see the improvement. And that, when I say the improvement, I mean not stumbling over poles the same, not the lack of coordination, tracking up, moving forward and out without me having to press him and without having to watch him struggle. The next comment was Sarah Locke. My boy is tripping and sometimes falling. He is P8, but wasn't sure if the tripping was something else. I'm no expert, but my horse's symptoms 100% are tripping, discoordination over poles, stumbling over poles. He has fallen a couple of times, not fully, more onto his knees. That's when he's fallen. It's probably happened like 4 or 5 times, but since I've been treating him, it's not happened. The last time it happened was, I think, in November. I was picking his hooves out in his stable and he just dropped. And it was just before I'd found out about the PSSM2. And I know horses quite well, and I know that something serious was going on for him to have just dropped like that. It wasn't like he was unbalanced, it was out of nowhere. I didn't like flex him any more than I should have been doing. I was doing everything by the book, and he literally drops. That was really worrying. So I can honestly say, personally, yes, for Romeo, his symptoms have included tripping and falling, but not since for a while, touch wood. But I'm not saying it won't come back, but right now we're on a good run. Last but not least, I will be doing a separate video with symptoms that includes footage of Romeo's problems when schooling and tracking up and tripping and head shaking. But ultimately, you know, I'm really lucky. I love the horse. I wouldn't change a thing. I've learned so much through this journey with him, and I am quite lucky because he's not been my main riding horse all this time. I dropped any expectation of that a long time ago. If I'd wanted him as a main riding horse, which I initially did, but eventually put that on the back burner, that's where the stress comes in. But because I accepted that there were problems, it took away a lot of the pressure. However, I might just be getting that riding horse that I want now. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.